Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. Welcome back to History of Games, episode 3. That's 6, 3. Today, we're going to talk about Cuphead, which is a fantastic 2D scroller action game. It was released September 29th, 2017. It was released by Studio MDHR, very small company. It was released on the Xbox One and also the PC with Xbox Play Anywhere. So you can play it anywhere if you have a computer or an Xbox. Okay, so the story takes place on Inkwell Isles. This is about two brothers, Cuphead and Mugman. They're both very happy, as you can tell from their faces. So they live with Elder Kettle, who takes care of them, and one day they went to the casino to play craps, and they started winning, so they were visited by the devil himself. They win another roll. They win all the money in the casino. And of course, they win and the game ends. I'm kidding. They lose. Cuppy rolls snake eyes. They beg for forgiveness. The devil's like, hey, if you get everyone's soul by the end of tomorrow night, midnight, then he might let you keep your soul. Cuppy and Muggy say, okay, and then they go home. So then they go home, they go back to Elder Kettle, and they're like, what have we done? And he gives them a potion that lets them shoot from their fingertips. And he warns them that all the other debtors will do whatever they have to not give them their soul contracts. So you have to go through all the islands, fight everyone that also lost to the devil. So there's a running theme of the devil wins. Once you get all the souls from all three islands, go back to the devil. Before you get to the devil, King Dice stops you. And King Dice is like, hey, no dice. He lost a bet to the devil that Cuphead Mugman would not be able to get all the contracts. So now you have to fight nice, good old-fashioned boss fight. Except this is a boss fight like Gunstar Hero style, where it's a bunch of bosses, and then you have to fight him in order to get it. So you roll the dice, and then you move X spaces, and then you have to fight him. So it's a long fight. That's a pain in the ass. It was also an amazing level, because I love when they do shit like that, because it's pure challenge. So you beat King Dice, and you go back to the devil. The game actually gives you a choice. So you can give all the contracts to the devil, pretty much join his team, and then you all run off and be evil together. Or you say no, and you fight him, because he gets super pissed. He's like, I'm the devil, So you have to fight him. So you fight him, you beat him, you burn all the contracts for all the other creatures on the island, and then you run home, because you realize you have nothing left to fear, and everything is back to being happy. The end. So that is the story of Cuphead. Don't deal with the devil. Lesson learned. So if you're an adorable cup person, don't make deals with the devil. This game caught people's eyes by the animation. The animation is amazing. They use like an old school, kind of dead animation techniques in order to actually make this game. It's more of a rubber hose style. So rubber hose was like the first standardized animation style, and it's pretty much all arms were like, hoses. So there weren't like elbows or anything like that. So it really started in the 1920s. By the 40s, it was pretty much done, because Walt Disney wanted to make animation more realistic, which meant giving them elbows and not being all... So the Studio MDHR, a Canadian indie game studio consisting of Chad and Jared Moldenhauer, additional animated work by Jake Clark, and programming lead by Eric Billingsley. Development from this game actually began in 2010 using the Unity game engine and was started in the brothers' homes. They started a similar style game in 2000, but they were unable to get anywhere with it. So 2010, obviously super inspired by the rubber hose style of animation, which pretty much like Steamboat Willie and old like Fleischer animation. Is that how you say it? I don't know. Fleischer was one of like the top animation studios that did that style up until the 1940s, when they finally transferred over to the like newer, more realistic animation style. So the brothers watched those cartoons when they were younger, so they grew up on them, so they were inspired by that. They wanted to make something that had the classic art style. Well, in 2000, they tried to make something like it, but they didn't have the tools to continue. So after 2010, when Super Meat Boy came out, which was like a fantastic 2D game made by a super small indie company. Watch the movie Indie Game, it's fantastic. And it pretty much documents that and a few other indie games, like what they went through to make it. It was really good and very interesting. So their inspiration for actual Cuphead was like an old 1936 Japanese propaganda film where a guy with like the head turned into a tank. That happened. So they went with that because it was weird. But yes it was. Nailed it. So they actually created like over 100 different character designs with like a fork for a head or some guy with a top hat. They obviously have a ton of sketches of all the things they didn't use. What's truly crazy about this animation is everything was hand drawn. All the frames, everything was hand drawn. Which, if you don't understand that, it makes it 1,000 times crazier. So in 2012, that's when they really started to bat ideas back and forth about what they wanted to do after being inspired in 2010 by Super Meat Boy. Because Super Meat Boy proved that a small group of people can make a really good game that doesn't just sell on PC, it also goes to consoles. That's a big deal for indie devs, because that opens the window up for so many more possibilities and sales and just getting their game out to a wider audience, especially a small company that people don't know. There's nothing wrong with that. So they actually released a really short, like a 20-second trailer, and all that saw it kind of were interested because the art style was amazing. And then they actually decided that they wanted to put the game on Xbox One, so then they got some help with Microsoft, so they did like the back and forth with them. And in 2014 E3, there was a super short teaser trailer for Cuphead, and that's also where I saw it too, and I was like, holy crap, that game looks amazing. And then it said it was going to release in 2015, and that didn't happen. So then in 2015, because the game was starting to be talked about more, they decided to hire a few more animators because everything was hand drawn. So in 2015, Microsoft had them do a press event. So after that, then things started to kind of speed up a bit. They got some support from Microsoft. Now it was out there. They've talked about it more than once. People's attention is starting to get way more peaked. It kind of made the game turn from like just an independent game to one of Microsoft's actual like big major showpieces. One of those games that everyone talked about when you were talking about upcoming games for Xbox. So after E3, they actually started looking for bank loans and just any way to get more money so they can get more into the project. And at the end of the year, there was 8 people in the studio. 8. It went from 3 to 8. Goddamn crazy. How many animation studios have under 8 people? It's insane. 2016 is when you kind of stopped hearing about it because they were just kind of like crunch time. They were just trying to get the game done. The team was up to 14 people. They were trying to stay out of the public eye and just get the crap done. It was like super crunch time for them. Apparently they did 33-hour days where they would just work nonstop, which is insane. What's crazy is 5 years, 12 to 17, they were working on that game. It just really shows you how much goes into a game. Everyone's just so picky. Like if a game's buggy, has any other issues, everyone's so quick to be like, this game's garbage. Did the devs even try? Everyone's so just shitty about it. You really don't know what goes into it. I don't know what goes into it. I don't make games. I don't make crap. I'm just talking to a fucking camera. I just play games. That's all I do. So everyone that just plays is easy to criticize because they really don't understand the process. At 2017 E3, they showed more Cuphead and were like, hey, end of September. Awesome. So they were actually working on this game until 5 days before the launch. They were just tying up loose ends, getting things ready, good to go, 5 days before launch. Actually, Microsoft threw a little launch party for them, and they were actually editing on the flight to the party. Luckily for them, their 5-year struggle turned out to pay off. They pretty much use now currently dead animation techniques. Everything was hand-drawn, filled in with water paint, and there were 24 frames per actual second. In the olden times, when you're not just computerizing everything, you draw one page. You have to draw 24 pages to fill 1 second. If you ever watched the animation episode of Beavis and Butthead, that kind of puts it into perspective in a very, very stupid way. I don't know, that's just where my head goes. You then draw a bunch of pages, and then that only turns into like 5 seconds, if that. So what they went through with such a small group, with at the end they had 14 total people working on it, and 5 of them were animators that they hired. So there was also something the animators did later, kind of called it on the ones, so that would be 24 pages for 1 second. Then they kind of started doing on the twos, so they would cut that in half, and it would only do 12 for that 1 second, but it would still flow pretty decently, so it wouldn't be like a huge difference, but they still went with 24 because they wanted it to look amazing and nailed it. So this game actually totaled around 120,000 frames. Think about that for one game, and it was all 100% hand drawn by hand. Yeah, they hired 5 animators from North America that actually still did that kind of animation because now everything's pretty much computerized. It really is a dying art form. I mean, for a reason. It's time consuming, and not too many people are like crazy about that art style. That's not going to make you famous by using an old technique. Especially that style of animation has some kind of like bad juju tied to it because it was during, of course, the 1930s. It could kind of bring up some of the old stereotypes where they would kind of draw, think about it now, like super offensive images. And even the brothers were asked about that, like why this animation style, and it was just because they grew up on it. They loved it. It was their influence. They didn't want to involve any of the old like stereotypes or bigotry tied to the old school animation. They just wanted to make something that they grew up with that inspired them so much. So definitely I agree with that because the animation's amazing. Every boss fight's such a unique battle, and like how the forms change, and it's so goddamn adorable while it's totally kicking your ass. It's just amazing. And then you think about how much time went into this, and it just continues to blow your mind all over your face. God, it's so good. I mean, I could see why some people would be concerned about bringing up all the bad stuff, because you can't kind of just pretend it never happened. That's not right. Anyway, so gameplay. So this, as you know, is a 2D shooter. They have a parry system where if the object or bullet or anything is pink, you can kind of jump off it, make it disappear. You get a double jump out of it too. Super helpful, and you also don't get murdered. This game is primarily boss fights, which I love. It actually has 30 boss fights, which is a Guinness World Record. Formerly 25, and a few run and gun levels in between where you actually like regular old school 2D games like Contra where you run left to right, shoot everything in the face. Each area has its own little tropes, like some you bounce off something and then you run on the ceiling instead of the floor, which was really cool. I really like how they did that. Everything seemed to flow really well. I didn't feel any like stale moments in the game. Every boss was wildly different, and each boss had different forms or multiple enemies, so every boss was completely different. You had to do a different strategy every time. A lot of it was just memory, but it really felt like playing an old school game for like the first time, but it's like super well done. Honestly, I really do like the resurgence of games like this, like Shovel Knight, an indie company putting so much time and effort and like actually putting updates out for it and listening to fans. Like Shovel Knight, they put speedrunning stuff in it for speedrunning community that actually put a lot of time in it, and the speedrun's awesome. Devs now that actually listen to people without being like EA, without everyone not buying the game to make a point. This dev makes a game, they listen to the fans, fix the game, they update. So this game does two things that I really like. Really just stab into the completionist that I am. So when you beat the level, you get a rank based on how long you took to kill the boss, how many power shots you did, parries you did, how many times you got hit, and you get a letter grade based on that. So you can only get to an A+ on normal mode. You can only get an S on expert. So that drove me insane. So once I beat the game and got A's on every level, I went back again, beat it on expert, got a maybe half the game S. Still working on the 100% S's. I got King Dice and the Devil S already, so I'm doing good. This game I was very happy to 100% because it was so much fun. One thing this game did that was amazing and kind of drives you insane is when you die in the level, there's actually like a progress bar. So it shows how far you were in actually beating the level. When you die at the last little tick right at the end, that is like infuriating, but it makes you go back for more. Well, it made me, obviously. So I beat the game in like 2 days. Just one day I ran through normal and ate everything, and then day 2 I just worked on all like the items and unlocking all the stupid stuff, getting S's and playing through expert. And God, it was so good. So you have the regular standard shot and then a special attack. And you can go to the store. In the run and gun levels, you get coins. Go to the store, you go to Mr. Porkrind's, you buy upgrades. You have 2 primary attacks, a special attack, and then charms, which are just passive. You can get ones that give you more health at the cost of your damage. So you do less damage, but you have more hits. It's kind of up to you. They had a bunch of crap. So you have all these combinations and all these other guns you can get. Total 3 super attacks, but you didn't buy those. You had to unlock them by doing a level with Miss Chalice. They are doing a DLC, The Delicious Last Course. They're adding a new character, Miss Chalice. You can play as her now. They're adding more levels, more weapons, more abilities, all that good stuff. That's coming out next year. That'll be a good reason to dive back into it full force, because then you could play all the old levels as Miss Chalice. So apparently she's going to play differently, have different moves and stuff, so we'll see what happens. So, reviews. This game got fairly positive reviews. Probably the most negative review is from people that aren't like me, that don't like love difficult 2D games, because the game is challenging. So when this game released, all people talked about was this game for about 2 months, like online community like Twitch and everything. So it was everyone trying to play through the game, and watching some people play was, oh my god, it was so painful. I'm sorry you're so bad at 2D games. But you're probably better than me at 3D games, so who gives a shit. It was like the struggle to get through the game and watching people struggle. Because I actually didn't play through this game right away. I actually waited a little to get it. It was actually on sale. It was like $16 on Amazon or some shit. And I would gladly buy it again to support that company. Because like those games are why I still play games nowadays. Games like that are just so good and like rewarding. Because you beat the game, you're like, fuck yeah, I beat this game. The game that everyone complained about. I actually didn't die as many times, because I saw that tells you how many times you died in your career of playing the game. So I saw people screenshotting shit that said like over 1,000 times, and you're like, I'm still not done with the game, and I'm like, oh, I don't remember what my number was, but I'll put it here-ish. I don't think it was too bad, but I also 100%ed A'd every level and S most of the levels, so enough toot my horn. But I love 2D games, they're fucking fantastic. So the game got very, very good reviews. So it's pretty much 8s and up. I know not everyone will look at this game and be like, oh, it's just an empty like 2D game that the animation style is amazing. At least everyone can agree that the animation is amazing. Because it is. God. One more thing. The music is fantastic, and it fits so amazingly well with the game. So this game soundtrack was jazz that fits the era of animation style. It's actually 3 hours of original jazz for this fucking soundtrack. So all the music was by Christopher Madigan, and it fits the game so fucking magical. So each song is live musicians. Some songs are like a 13-piece band. Some are like a 10-piece ragtime band. There's like a solo pianist. It has everything. Anything when you think of like jazz, it's fucking there. And it's so perfect. There's also some hilarious videos online. I saw a police car chase with the Cuphead music spliced over it, and it was fucking perfect. Go search for that. It was amazing. As for sales, the game sold, well, thank God. So all the effort they put in, the game sold like shit. That's gotta be miserable. So after the first 2 weeks of release, the game sold 1 million copies. And by August of this year, they actually just hit the 3 million milestone. Games like that should get more support. I mean, this game definitely stuck out way more than most indie games do, because the animation style was just fucking so good, because you don't see that shit ever. Indie games get a lot of shit because they're not AAA games, but honestly, most indie games I have more fun playing than AAA. They're able to try like weird shit. It's like, obviously a big company needs to make money to keep going, so they can't really take chances as much as an indie company. Indie companies are all about taking chances with games, and I am 100% for that. I mean, you have to dig through a lot of not good ones, honestly, which just games that are not fun. They like have a good concept, but it's just not executed to what I would prefer, at least. But you get the one game every once in a while that's just like, fuck, that's why indie games exist. Until the DLC releases, I just want to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you jerks later.